Hey y'all, welcome back again to another episode of Healthy Design. I thought today we'd talk a little bit about supplements. That tends to be what people are kind of the most interested in. Yet I think for the vast majority of people, that plays the smallest part in health or anything else. I do think supplements can be very, very helpful. It's just for the vast majority of people, they don't lead to this huge end result, and that's life changing. But there are those cases where people take something that they really needed, and it makes a tremendous impact on their life. It greatly improves their quality of life. They can start doing different things. So it can be that way, but that's just not normally how it goes. For example, creatine is one of the most studied supplements ever. A lot of people get great results with it as far as strength goes, being able to train harder. But yet, there's a lot of people that are non responders, me being one of those. I've never gotten a strength increase from creatine, never been able to do more work, gotten faster, anything like that. There's a lot of benefits from creatine with, cognitive, mental function, different things like that. So I still supplement with it, even though I've never really noticed a difference. I do eat a decent amount of red meat, so maybe that's why I'm not low on creatine and don't notice that impact from it. So that's where I think some of this comes into play too, is that depending on what you're eating, how you eat, how long that's been going on, you may or may not be deficient in some of those nutrients. If you are and you start supplementing with them, you're probably going to notice a bigger impact rather than if you are already getting those nutrients from your diet, you're not going to notice any impact from that at all. So, what I see a lot of times too is that somebody will take a supplement and it works miraculously for them. And so then they think everybody needs to take that supplement, or at least everybody who's experiencing some of the same symptoms they are needs to take that supplement. That thinking makes logical sense. However, whatever issue it was that was causing their symptoms, that issue, that root cause, may be different from somebody else. So when this person takes that supplement, they get great results, move up to here. This person has a different, root cause, different issue. When they take the supplement, they may notice a little bit of improvement, they may notice none, or they may even get worse. So it's not always as easy just, so what symptoms are you taking? Take this. We have to really kind of figure things out. I've got the supplements that I take here, and I'll go through them. I'm not trying to say everybody should take the same supplements I'm taking. I'm actually saying the exact opposite. Everybody should not take the same supplements I'm taking. There's certain reasons why I take those, and we'll go through it. But there's also some that just aren't necessary. Like you can still get pretty good results without it, because I've got it kind of broken up for what I'm doing, and I don't take all of this all year round. I vary things from time to time too. So I guess I should do the disclaimer. None of this is to be considered medical advice. With supplements, you do need to talk to your doctor before you start taking anything, because there could be interactions with medications, and we don't want that. We don't want any negatives. We want to make sure everything's just positive. And so there are, going back onto the supplements, a lot of the ones that I take are kind of for overall health. So I don't really notice anything from them now. It's more about hoping that it's going to help long term and kind of prevent some issues. And again, creatine kind of falls into that aspect too. So I think a lot of times on the functional medicine side, where people go wrong with the supplements is they're basically just trying to use the supplement in place of a medication, or expecting it to act like a medication. There are some studies that show sometimes you can do that. Berberine may be able to give some similar benefits as metformin. And it makes sense in some ways that a lot of the medications that we're using, they do come from different plants and different things like that. So that's going to happen from time to time. But in general, the supplements are not going to be nearly as powerful as a pharmaceutical medication. If it's that, it's very strong, it's very powerful. We don't want to play around with it. Every now and then we can have some similar effects from supplements. So we don't want to play around with them either, because again, just because it's a supplement that's over the counter, that doesn't mean that it's going to be safe for everyone. We're all made a little bit differently, so we need to be careful and not just take things for granted. So in my case, what I like to do is try to have some things that'll help from a health standpoint, and we can figure some of this out. So, using blood work can give us information about possible nutrient deficiencies. Just in standard blood work, like a complete blood count with differential, comprehensive metabolic panel, that can give us a whole bunch of information regarding your health, nutrient deficiencies, inflammation, stress, things like that. And that's where some of those nutrient deficiencies can come from. If you're under chronic stress, chronic inflammation, your body's having to use some specific nutrients to kind of keep dealing with that, managing that all the time. And then that can lead to those levels being low. Whereas, again, we can supplement to kind of give some of those nutrients, and we may need to do that, especially initially, to help you feel better. But if we can decrease that chronic stress, that inflammation, well, then maybe you don't need the supplement. So again, the supplement's just there to supplement things. It's not there to be the primary driver for getting better or anything else. Again, that's kind of what a lot of people want. They just want to take something and not have to put in any work, but that doesn't work very well most of the time, at least. So that's probably enough about that. So again, these are the things I take. I've mentioned this on one of the workout things. So this part over here is just what I take for working out. We got creatine that we already spoke about. And then here I've got essential amino acids, so protein. And then I've got a carbohydrate source. Depending on the workout, what I'm trying to do, like if it's a muscle gain phase or a fat loss phase, I may or may not include the carbohydrates. So this is kind of during my workout that I take this. I don't think you have to do this. It does seem to help me get a little bit better workout in rather than not taking it. And so this is something I do. If you can't afford it, I think you'll be just fine. Maybe you don't get 1 or 2%, improvement, but that's it. You'll still get the other 98, 99. So that's how I look at that. And it kind of depends on how hard the workout is, but probably I'm just going to do 1 scoop of each, and that'll be about it. Over here on this side is, again, something that I don't necessarily take all the time. This is just what I take when I'm in a fat loss phase. So I've got tyrosine, which is just an amino acid. For me, tyrosine does help whenever there's something I need to really concentrate on. So doing it like before climbing, sometimes I'll do that along, just putting it in coffee and drinking it and then going to climb can really help out. I can concentrate better, focus better. That's probably not going to be the case for everybody. Lyle McDonald, in his book, like Stubborn Fat Loss Solution, talks about using tyrosine, yohimbine HCl. Hey guys, I forgot to mention one thing with the supplement video, and yohimbine especially. Start very, very low with the dose. I gave the recommendations for how to figure out what your dose needs to be, what they found to be effective, but it will increase heart rate. And so if you start at that high dose, it may increase your heart rate, kind of make you feel a little anxious and not be very comfortable. So start very low, maybe just with 1 capsule, so 2.5 milligrams or 5 milligrams, gradually build up. That way you can kind of assess your tolerance and kind of build up slowly. So I'd stay at that dose for, a couple of days and see how you do, and then go up from there. All right, hopefully this helps. We'll get back to the other video. And then caffeine. So I've got, in this case, it's a fat burner, but you could just use just use caffeine on its own. But I think this company changed name to Troponin Nutrition. It was a pretty cheap fat burner that had different things in it, so I went ahead and grabbed that. So again, just caffeine will work in this case. But with the yohimbine, you do have to get the right dose. I believe it's 0.2 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. So to figure that out, you got to do a little math. Take your body weight in pounds, divide it by 2.2 to get the kilos, then multiply that by the 0.2 and get it. I think mine comes out to like 17 and a half or so, 20, somewhere around that. So that's what I end up taking. And so I will take those 3 things in the morning before I walk. and it's just to try to help burn a little bit more body fat. I think it helps out some, but it is not some huge miraculous difference. So again, I don't think that's absolutely necessary at all. I'm just trying to milk every little thing I can from it so I can do that, or I will do that, and I'll see how it goes. But again, if that's something you're not sure about, you can get very similar results without using it. The other thing with the yohimbine is you want to make sure you take that on an empty stomach. So that's why I do it first thing in the morning. It helps to kind of stimulate some different receptors for different types of fat, blah, blah, blah. But if you have like any food or insulin in your body that's circulating at that time, it's going to override the yohimbine and it's going to not do anything at all, and definitely a waste of money at that point. So doing it in the morning, while before I eat anything, that's, if it's going to work, that's going to give me the best results. So that's what I do. All right. The next one, vital nutrients, adrenal support. This is just different adaptogenic herbs to help for stress. Basically, if your body's a little low in things, it helps bring them up. If your body's too high in stuff, it helps bring it down to help your body manage stress. So that's what I like about it. It's non-specific in a good way, but it's not something I take every day, and it's not something I take all year round. That's something that I'll take more so when I know there's a lot of stress going on. And a lot of times just one capsule will be enough for me. You can definitely take more than that. You can take 2 capsules multiple times during the day if you need to. And so if you're under a whole bunch of stress, you're trying to deal with things, and if you're dealing with any kind of chronic illness or anything like that, that is a chronic stress on your body too. So it might be better to take some of that, a little more consistently, a little higher dose for a while, and then hopefully you can kind of cut down and maybe just take it as needed. And then the rest of my supplements are here. And again, they're basically just designed around general health. So I've just recently started taking fish oil. This is on Thorn, and their advanced DHA. For men, we tend to need a little bit more of the DHA side of the omega-3s rather than the EPA. So it's a little bit higher on the DHA than the EPA. So that should work out hopefully better for me. Again, I've gone back and forth over the years of taking fish oil or not. I've never noticed anything with it. So it's not like I noticed increased energy or feeling better, anything like that. The research seems to be there that there are benefits from it. So I take it. If you're eating a lot of fatty fish, you don't need it. So, if you're eating fatty fish 3-4 times a week or more, you don't need a supplement with fish oil. In that case, you're getting enough from your diet. I'm eating fatty fish maybe once or twice a week. So maybe adding this in will be a little bit helpful. So that's why I do it. Next is just a fairly low dose of vitamin A, just 3,000 micrograms. A lot of the vitamin A supplements are really high doses that I don't think we need. But vitamin A and vitamin D can kind of be pretty handy, especially in dealing with like immune issues and just immunity in general. So that's why I supplement with it. Currently, I'm not supplementing with any vitamin D. We're, in the summertime, I'm able to get out in the sun and get vitamin D that way. And so that's what I would prefer to do, and that's what I do. Magnesium citrate. Magnesium is just a good supplement involved in over 200 chemical reactions in the body. With exercise and different things, it can get depleted fairly easily. So I take it. The citrate form can have a mild laxative effect for people if they're having issues with constipation. There's other forms, glycinate or glycinate, depending on how you pronounce it, threonate. They're all going to be much better absorbed than magnesium oxide, which is the more traditional form. It doesn't tend to get absorbed very well. These citrate and the others do. The glycinate, threonate may be a little bit more beneficial for like nerve issues and relaxation there. So there are some different forms of magnesium, and different ones may be a little bit better for you depending on the issues that you're having. The next is beef liver. Organ meats have a ton of nutrients in them, most nutrient-dense foods. I don't like the taste of them though, so I don't eat them. I don't think a lot of people eat them for that very same reason. So this way I can take 3 tablets and get some of the beef liver in that way. There's basically no taste or anything. I just put them in, swallow, and good. But there's a lot of different vitamins, nutrients in beef liver, and so that's why I supplement with it. To me, in a sense, it's kind of like a natural multivitamin in a sense. So that's what I do. And then I got biotin, and I actually cut this in half. So it's 300 micrograms, but I cut it in half. So I guess I'm getting close to 150. I'm not sure it's getting cut completely in half, so that's why I say close to 150. But I eat a good bit of protein. When you eat a lot of protein, you do need a little bit more biotin. So that's why I do that, just to make sure I'm able to kind of absorb things, use things as well as possible. And then the very last is the vitamin K2. A lot of times people get concerned when you mention vitamin K, because you have vitamin K1 and K2. K1 is definitely involved in blood clotting, and it's going to kind of make that more likely. So we don't want to have too much vitamin K1. We need some, because we do want our blood to clot when needed. We just don't want it to clot anytime for no reason whatsoever. K2 doesn't seem to have that same kind of issue. Some people believe that the vitamin K2 may be what Weston Price was referring to. I think he called it Activator X. Vitamin K2, along with vitamin D, along with magnesium, just helps to make sure calcium goes where it's supposed to in your body, i.e. teeth and bones. We don't want calcium being deposited in blood vessels or organs or anything like that. So that's part of the reason why I take vitamin K2. So again, magnesium, that might be one that's pretty good for most people. Again, not saying you're going to notice huge benefits from it, but it could help out on the sleep side of things too. So I have seen that be helpful for people. I have seen the adrenal support really help people to be able to manage stress and just kind of give their body some reserves to manage things better. And I've noticed that myself, that if there is something going on that day that I know is going to be a stressful time, or for several days, taking that consistently, it just makes it easier to handle it. Does it mean there's no stress whatsoever? No, it just means my body can handle things better. So that's the list of what I'm taking. Again, not saying you should take it, unless you're exactly like me with the exact same issues, then you shouldn't take it. But what I'm going to do though is there's going to be a link in the description to FullScript. That'll give you guys 25% off of any supplement that's on FullScript. They have a lot of pharmaceutical grade supplements from a lot of different companies. Most likely you're going to be taking supplements anyway. So maybe this will help out and give you a better deal on things and cut down the price a little bit for you. So it's just kind of my way of saying thank you for watching. If you'd help me out too by clicking like and subscribe, that'd be great as well. But look for that link in the description. And if you guys have questions about a specific supplement, I'll give you my opinion on it. It can be a little hard to say for sure whether or not you should take it without having that information from blood work, your past medical history, what's currently going on now. In the way that I practice, I like having a pretty lengthy health questionnaire, kind of long, interview, doing that initial consultation to get your full story, ask questions that I have about the health questionnaire, also about what comes up during that consultation, and then using the lab results too. Combining those things together, we can come up with some pretty good ideas regarding supplements that might be helpful. So again, if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.